touched on it earlier, your final match in WWE at WrestleMania 35. But I feel like everyone knows that it could have been different. It was a nice moment. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on Ric Flair's last match, and if you'd ever consider it headlining an event like that. I know you have back surgery coming up, but
Yeah.
if you'd ever,
No, I don't think so. The thing is with me, and I'm not going to speak for Rick or anybody else, but for me, I knew I lost my touch when I came back to WWE. What happened was I was doing a lot of independent shows before I signed with WWE in 2017, when I took a year off in between TNA and WWE, and I kept my body in ring shape, and I was wrestling extremely well. When I got to the WWE, they decided they wanted to induct me in the Hall of Fame first and not have me wrestle first. And not only that, but they pushed my wrestling back even more. After I got inducted to the Hall of Fame, they asked me to be GM of Raw. So I was GM of Raw for 8 months. Then after that, I started wrestling. But while I was GM, I was inactive. I wasn't in the ring wrestling. I wasn't doing anything. And my body started to become arthritic. I started feeling older. When you get old in your 50s, you have to keep your body active. I didn't do that. So when I came back to wrestle, I started getting injured. You know, my right leg, my thigh, I tore a muscle in my thigh. I injured my knee again. It was just really hard to get myself back in conditioning to be able to wrestle at that level. And if I'm going to wrestle any time in my life, I want to be at the best that I was in my prime of my career. I'll give you an example. I asked Bret Hart to wrestle me in 2002 at WrestleMania. He said no right away. I was like, Bret, I'll do all the bumping. All you have to do is beat the crap out of me. He's like, no, Kurt, I don't want to do it. And I understand now, because I wouldn't do it either. If I wasn't able to perform against Bret Hart at my best, I'm not going to do it. See, I was in my prime when I asked Bret. Bret wasn't. He was past his prime. Now, me being in Bret's situation, and if I had to wrestle Bret and I had the opportunity, I would say no too, because I know I can't put on the Kurt Angle performance that everybody would expect. So would I wrestle again? Probably not. No.
Probably not, right? No, it absolutely makes sense. And it's funny, after that, was there a match? I mean, it wasn't Bret Hart, but what was the match he had with Vince? Did that come after? Yeah.
He had a street fight with Vince, which I think Vince really utterly talked him into it. But keep in mind, it's Vince McMahon. Right. So nobody had high expectations for a wrestling match. They knew this was going to be a brawl. It was going to be a gimmick match, you know. So Bret knew he could do that. And, you know, if Kurt Angle and Bret Hart go in there and do a gimmick match, wouldn't make any sense. You know, they would look like they would want to see a great technical match between Bret Hart and Kurt Angle, not a gimmick match like you saw with Vince.
Right. Exactly. No, well said.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.